Now, our course of today is Introduction to Cybersecurity. On today's course, I will talk about what cybersecurity is all about, core concepts in cybersecurity, and many other things that is very, very important for beginner before advancing. So the first question is, what is cybersecurity? When you hear about cybersecurity, what comes in your mind first? Now, like the definition I have here, so cybersecurity is the practice of protecting computer systems, networks, devices, and data from unauthorized access, theft, or damage. Now, it's like locking your house, setting up an alarm and having guides to prevent burglars, but in a digital world, in a digital space, your screen. If you are called as a security personnel, not a digital security, not a cyber security, as a normal security, if they call you or employ you in this environment, what should be your main target? What should be your main goal? What will be your main job? Now, when you talk about a normal security personnel, when you employ them here, the first job is to secure the property, the infrastructure, ensure there is no burglars, ensure that everything in the compound is intact. So they will be in charge of the door, they'll be in charge of the gates. This is their job as a normal security. But as a cyber security, your job is to protect the digital assets. Now, if you check in this room now, in these rooms here, you notice that we have a room, we have the parlor, the sitting room. Now, in this sitting room, you notice there is a device in it. In the room, you notice there is a devices. In the office, you notice there is also devices. So, as a cybersecurity person, your job is to protect these devices and the informations and the network that these devices are using to communicate. That is your job as a cybersecurity personnel. The next subtopic here is the core concepts of cybersecurity. When you hear about cybersecurity, there are normally they call terminologies in cybersecurity. There are core concepts, there are concepts of cybersecurity. And these are the things you should know in your fingertips. So that when communicating, you communicate as a professional. Now, one of them is threats. So threat is anything that can cause harm. Example, a hacker, malware. That malware is malicious software. Natural disaster. We talk about natural like flooding, fire outbreak. All these are natural disaster. The second term here we have is vulnerability. When you talk about vulnerability, you're talking about a weak point that threats can exploit. A weak password, unpatched software. Now, when you hear about the word exploit, it means taking advantage of. So it's a weak point that a threat can take advantage of, or a weak point that a hacker can take an advantage of. It's called vulnerability. Now, risk, the potential damage when a threat exploits a vulnerability. The risk, that's when the potential damage, when the threat exploits a vulnerability. The damage the threat causes to the data, to the information, to the devices is what they call risk. Attack, when a threat actually targets and exploits a system. It's important. As a cybersecurity personnel, you should understand this terminology, have it in your fingertips, and understand. So, now, moving forward, we have types of cybersecurity. Types of cybersecurity, there are many types of cybersecurity. Cybersecurity is not about protecting your laptop or protecting data. It's not only that. There are many more of cybersecurity. I use the word subtopics, or let's say pillar of cybersecurity, because when you talk about cybersecurity is just like an umbrella covering other areas. Now, here we're talking about network security. Network security is one of the types of cybersecurity. This is the protection of data in transit across network. I hope you understand the network. Data communicates. Have you tried to understand how information are passed, or how you're able to answer a call through a phone or be on a video call. Even as we are communicating now, data is on transit. Our data is on transit. I'm able to communicate with you because of what they call network, the internet. So do you know if a hacker can intercept our conversation, a hacker can intercept our data if our communication is weak, the communication channel is weak or vulnerable to the attack. We have application security. This is another type of security, securing apps, applications, softwares. So securing the apps from attacks like SQL injection. SQL injection is one of the threats. Information security. This is the protection of data at rest. I don't know if you know what the data is. Data is information such as your PI, your personal identification number, your spin pattern. All those things are data. Your phone, even your name is data. It's not data. So all this information, your NIN, your BVN, all these things are called data. They are information. So they are data at rest when they are not on network. They are on your device, or they are somewhere on your system, or somewhere on space. Now we have endpoint security. This is about securing user devices such as your mobile devices, your laptop, your digital TV, your IoT, which is Internet of a Thing, known as the CCTV camera. Security. This is the protecting online data storage and cloud apps. Protecting online data storage. This is the current and the most targeted system now, because everything we have today, most of us back up, like people using iPhone, all their information are backed in the cloud. People that are using Google Drive is backed in the cloud. So we have the operational security, OPSEC. This is the managing processes and user access securely. Unlike from the previous video, I asked a question: when you are employed as a normal security person, in a compound or in a home, what would be the job or the role of that person? Is to secure the access, the door. So in the digital space, your job as a cybersecurity is to protect digital devices, giving access control to files, to users, So these are another type of cybersecurity. We talk about the critical infrastructure security, securing national and industrial systems like power grid, hospital banks, transport system. Internet of a Thing. I talked about IoT, which is Internet of a Thing. Example, your CCTV camera. This is protecting connected devices like smart homes, cameras, and sensors and cars. So why cybersecurity is important? If they ask you why cybersecurity is important, what would be your answer? Cybersecurity is important to protect confidentiality. When you talk about confidentiality, it says keep sensitive data private. This is the art of protecting data from unauthorized access. Now, when you talk about data is, like I said before, I mentioned that before, data is your name, your PIN, your pattern, your fingerprint, all this in your face. This is your data. Date of birth, phone number, these are your data. File, information, these are your data. So, protecting it or keeping it private is what they call confidentiality. So, when you hear, I don't know if you have heard about the CIA thread. The CIA thread means the confidentiality, integrity, and availability. So now, the first one is confidentiality. They keep sensitive data private for unauthorized access. Ensure integrity, prevent data from being altered by unauthorized people. This is saving data from unauthorized access. For it not to be modified, it has to pass through a process of protection. Maintain availability. This insurance system are up and running when needed. This is the ability of a system or the process of a system or software to be available to the authorized users. So, like I said, it's called the CIA threat. Now, common cyber threats. These are common cyber threats, and it's still existing to date. We know that malware. Example of malware, we talk about viruses, worm, ransomware, Trojan. I mentioned this earlier. When you talk about malware, full meaning of malware is malicious software. That is the full meaning of malware. And when you talk about malware, you talk about viruses, worms, ransomware, and Trojan horse. We're going to dive deeper in these terms, in these threats I mentioned here earlier. Now we talk about phishing. Phishing is a common cyber threat. So even to date, I know even here that we are having a class, some persons are victim of this phishing. So it said tricking user into giving personal information. It can come in any way. It can come as a voice, they call it voice phishing, they call it smishing. It can come as text message, it can come as a link. So it can come as an email. So these are phishing. So, and how phishing works is demands sensitive information, and information that is not meant to disclose, such as your bank pin, your ATM pin, your BVN, NIN, all these pins, demanding sensitive information that is meant to know only to you. And it comes in many ways. Like I mentioned before, it comes in voice, it comes as SMS, it comes as email, it comes as link. Or like when you have a friend that will come on your WhatsApp and be like, guy, click this link, you will make $2 in a day, all those kind of things. In this process we call it baiting. So when you click a link that is controlled by an attacker, they will collect your vital information. Like I mentioned earlier, we have denial of service, this overloading system to shut them down. It's an attack that overwhelms system, shutting it down. Sometimes you try to access a particular website, it seems like that website is not available. It's not network issue. So maybe they have experienced the attack, DOA at that moment. It's common in banks, it happens. So we have man in the middle attack. This is in the process of an attacker intercepting communication between two parties without their consent. Like I mentioned before, I said as we are on internet today, we are communicating. An attacker can intercept to listen to what we are saying, the data that will be transferred, but without our consent. That's what they call man in the middle attack. Now we have insider threat. Insider threat is an employee or contractor misusing access. People that are inside the company misusing access or giving access to unauthorized user. These are called insider threats. Now, what is the protective measure to control or to prevent an attacker from accessing vital information? Now, the first thing there is access control. It's very, very important. Access control. That's limiting users' privilege through role-based access. Control. Reduce the risk of misuse or accidental exposure. Strong authentication. This involves creating complex passwords and enable multi-factor authentication to secure account from unauthorized access. The common electronic bank that is doing this properly well is OPay and MoneyPay. Mostly OPay. Whatever you want to do OPay, you notice that OPay security is more stronger in the sense that if you want to transfer a certain amount of money, they have to do a face verification. Then if you leave your account for some days and you try to access it after that some days, they will need your face verification. So these are called multi-factor authentication. Now, multi-factor authentication simply means having password, face print, fingerprint, all at the same time. So when your attacker break the password, it cannot break your fingerprint. When you break the fingerprint, it will take time to break your face print. So having all these things working together. So regular update and patching. A lot of persons ignore this part. We don't actually update our softwares or update our systems, but it's very, very bad. It's a bad habit. It's not digitally wise. So regular update and patching keeps software system, application, and security tools up to date. Prevent attackers from exploiting known vulnerabilities. Imagine. Because before a company that owns a particular app releases an update, they must have noticed a weakness or a vulnerability on their app. So it's advised that you update your app on a regular basis. Now, user awareness training, like the one we are having today, educating users about phishing, scams, and social engineering, build a strong human defense. The weakest point to digital device or digital services or digital network is human being. Yes, we can do it knowingly or unknowingly. It's human being. Human being is common. If you're able to get human being, you have gotten what you want in the, okay, let's say for instance now, you want to have access to a vital information. If you're able to convince the person in charge of that information, you have gotten that information without stress. But if you are trying to break into the system, through the network, you have to pass through a lot of stress processes to get that. You see, now we have incident response planning. Preparing a structured response plan helps organizations act quickly and effectively when a cyber incident occurs. Continuous monitoring, ongoing logging and monitoring of systems and network helps detect suspicious activities early and respond before it causes major harms. I hope we are following. If you are following, please comment. I would like to see your comment on the comment section. It's important. If you have a question, please don't forget to ask at the end of this class. It's very important. You can make it to the channel in the comment section, drop your question at the end of class, and I'll attend to each of them one after the other. So let's proceed to real life application. Now, after studying the cybersecurity, somebody might be asking, where do you apply it? Now, protecting banks from hackers stealing money, that's the real life application. So, but for you to protect the information or protect bank, you have to understand the network. You have to understand what the banks use. You have to understand the system. You have to understand the infrastructure. That is why it's important to know the basics. So in our next class, we'll be talking about the tools, the structures, the domains in cybersecurity. Now, the second is preventing ransomware attack on hospitals. Now, like I said before, ransomware is a malicious software that disrupts or compromises a company's system, demanding a ransom before release. I hope you understand what I'm saying. So now, bringing it in a simple term, ransomware is an attack. It's a malicious attack that when it gets to a system, it will stop that system. It will block, restrict access to that system. It will not allow the authorized user to have access to that system. Now, for you to have access to that system, it demands ransom. You know what I mean by ransom? I mean money. It demands certain amount of money for them to release that system. And is this done by an attacker? So check it out. If you are involved in this particular attack, they blocked your system or blocked your company's server. Okay, for you to have access, you have to pay some amount of money demanded, and at the end, you might likely not to get the system back. So that is why it's important. Do all possible things to prevent yourself from malicious softwares, malwares. I mentioned this before. Malicious softwares include viruses, Trojan horse. Trojan horse is a backdoor creation. We have viruses, worm. I mentioned that before. Now, safeguarding national security and military communication. These people now work in government. They protect national security, which is vital information to the government, and military communication. Now, securing personal devices so your data stays safe. Now, this is common to is applicable to everybody, whether you're cybersecurity or not. You should have the knowledge that your personal devices should be protected at all times. Your information in the device should also be protected at all times. Do you understand? So this is the really important. The real life application, like I mentioned, there are many more, but these are the ones I highlighted at the main time for as a beginner. So I don't want to feed you guys with a lot of information that you might not really understand. So this is the basic you should know. protecting back information, preventing yourself from ransomware, securing personal devices, or stay or so your data stays safe. Like I mentioned before, I hope you guys understand what data is. Good. Now, the summary, we have come to the end of the class. The summary, this cybersecurity is the shield that protects our digital world from being hacked, stolen, or destroyed. You can see this is the summary of all cybersecurity. So, the protection of your data, like I said, information, which is data, your devices. So, at the end of this class, I believe that we have understood what cybersecurity is all about. It's not about reading too many books, it's about knowing the important things. I believe we all have understood what cybersecurity is now all about. So, if you have a question, prepare your question and get it to the group. So, there comes the end of our class. I appreciate you guys again for being present and being committed. But tomorrow is gonna be different. Like I said, tomorrow my class is starting by 8 p.m. No extra time. So do your possible best to be here on time. We wait for nobody because heavenly race is on Chesney's head. So I'll be taking questions now. The floor is open. Drop your question on the comment section and I'll be waiting. All right.